Well, everybody, and welcome to Trig Podcast of Joy and GOZO TV, where we are going GOZO. What? The weather's got you down, GOZO Nation. The brakes of your car, they don't even seem to work anymore. You're looking at your wallet at your waistline, bro, wondering, man, what is going on? Don't worry, my dear GOZO friend. Come into the live stream, and let's spend the next few minutes talking about grace, talking about joy, talking about God, talking about GOZO. Today here, I want to welcome you to Facebook Live, to the stream on YouTube Live. You might be watching on Periscope. You might be on my podcast, which is just the audio version of Trig Podcast of Joy in iTunes. Wherever you may be, welcome to the live stream on this awesome day. Today is Tuesday, June 6th, talking about how to get out of a rut. So I want to give you a few minutes here on this cloudy morning in Long Beach, California. Welcome to the GOZO Studios. I hope that you are doing well. As always, I am here with my friends, my GOZO bell. Every time that we drop some truth, we ring that bell. I also am here with my GOZO head. Let's see how today's coffee is tasting. Oh, it's always amazing. I also have my GOZO flowers. Do you like my GOZO flowers? How about that? I also got my GOZO trophy. Remember that you're a champion. You're a campeón. Talking to you about 7 tips that I want to give you that really just come from my experience, from what I've learned. You know, I'm a pastor. I'm also someone who's been to school, graduate school, all the rest. But really what helps me the most is to really get honest. I mean, that's really my desire here at GOZO TV, is to bring you 2 things, joy and authenticity, vulnerability, just to learn from each other. So I want you to ask me a question below. Ask me a question. Ask me, how do you get out of a rut? Do you have a question about the rut that you're in? About maybe you're in that place where you just can't get out of it mentally, emotionally, physically. You want to work out, you want to get a job, you want to be more productive, but you can't seem to get out of that rut. What can you do? Ask me a question. This is called the Ask Trig Show Live. I'm changing a little bit of the format. You can call me at this number. You can leave me a comment below, but changing the format so that it's not just me talking, but I really want to answer your questions that you want to ask. So leave me a comment, and not just like, hey, a comment, but like, thank you for being here or that kind of thing, but ask me a question, maybe is a better way to put it. What question do you have in how to get out of a rut? What questions are you facing? What is your question? So call me at this number, leave me a message below. You can message me on Facebook, you can text me, you can email me, but obviously the quickest way is to just leave me a comment below. Ask me your question regarding getting out of a rut. I have 7 tips that I want to give you. If you're in a rut emotionally, physically, with your job, with relationships, I meet a lot of young people, really people of all ages, that find themselves in a rut. They do the same thing every week, every day, and they think, well, maybe I'm just boring. Maybe I'm not very creative. And you end up doing the same thing all the time. And let me say something here before I get into the 7 tips. Doing the same thing and having routines is not a bad thing. You don't have to go and be someone that you're not. Because some people are way too spontaneous. They don't have any boundaries to their lives. And so I think all of us can grow and learn from each other. How do you become spontaneous? How do you keep things fresh in your marriage? You know, for me, I've been married 23 years. How do my wife and I keep things fresh? I want to tell you about a little bit of that and some of the things that we do and we're doing to keep things fresh. In your career, how do you keep connected to your job? And maybe a lot of it is just between, as I say, between the ears, right? What's going on in here? So let me go right into the message. Let me do one thing. I'm going to go off camera here for a second, so I'll be right back. I want to do something really quicker just with my gear. So let me just put this little thing here, and I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back. Thanks so much. I just had to fix a couple of things here with the technical aspect of the show. So here we go. 7 tips. I want to give you 7 tips, and I want to, as I said, have you ask me a question. What is your question in the area of ruts? Are you in a rut? Do you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again in your life, in your relationships? Do you feel like you're kind of feeling bored with your life? You see other people doing things and you think, man, why can't I be like that guy? Are you in a rut? Tell me, ask me a question below. Let me know, what area are you in a rut in? Maybe it's physically. You feel like you're in a rut with your eating, with your fitness goals, with your habits. But I want to give you 7 tips, but I want to encourage you to leave me a comment below. Let me check really quick, by the way, how Periscope is doing. I always like to say hello to my Periscope friends. Remember, here in the bottom 3, there are 3 buttons, Periscope fans. Make sure you go over there and comment and also check things out. I'm going to check things out on YouTube as well. Nice to have you there. So wonderful. Let me just check out really quick what is going on here with Periscope, just to make sure that all is well on Periscope. It looks good. It's just connecting. And again, thank you so much on Periscope for being here and for watching. So 7 tips. Let me give you here the 7 tips. And then again, ask me a question below. Ask me a question. It could just be one, this could be your free 30-minute session. We don't have to have 100,000 people here watching. It's just, it's just one person, maybe 2. You may not have all day, so take advantage of this, because maybe one day I'll have 5 people watching. But here it is. Number 1, evaluate your systems, especially your very small systems. What I mean by systems is your actions. So what I recommend to people in terms of how to get out of a rut in whatever area they're feeling stuck in is to evaluate your very small systems. So in other words, instead of you thinking that you have to evaluate the big things in life, evaluate the small things, your actual actions that you take. So every one of us has what people call routines or habits or traditions, I guess. You wake up at a certain time, you go to bed at a certain time, you go to bed with your phone, you wake up and you're on your phone, then you get ready and you go to work, or you're at home till whatever it is, then you eat, then everyone has a routine, or as I say, habits or systems. What I call the micro habits. I'm talking about the very small things that we all do. If you want to get out of a rut, start by evaluating, by actually looking at those things. Because the mistake that most people make is that they start with the big things. They say, well, I need to lose 10 pounds, and so I'm going to go to the gym. But what happens is that what gets in the way of that new tradition or that new habit are the small micro habits, the very tiny things. Maybe the fact that you don't have gas in your car to get to the gym, or that you have your bike, let's just say you're going to bike around, it has a flat tire. And so those micro systems or those micro habits are the things you need to look at first and foremost. So let's say in a relationship, you're looking at your relationship and you're realizing that you don't have a lot of joy, you don't have any real fizz in your fire. You don't have any fire in your relationship. So evaluate the micro things. What are you doing right now that maybe is part of the problem? Maybe are things that are working. It doesn't have to be all negative. These aren't micro habits that are bad habits. This is just simply evaluating your habits regardless of judgment. Whether they are good or bad, just simply start by writing down or evaluating your micro habits. Number 2 is stop focusing on the problems and instead focus on what you want. So we always as humans are prone to think of the negative things. You think of, oh, my relationship isn't very good, or my body is a mess, or maybe it's between here, my mental health is just horrible. I wish I would do this, I wish I would do that. That is what everyone does. What you want to do is to actually focus on what you want and to reverse the whole thing. Go from thinking about the negative things 80% of the time to thinking about what you want 80% of the time. So the way that looks is, for example, what I do is I have a vision board. In our room and also here in my studio, I have pictures. I have things I write down. I try to stay away from verses and from God is my strength. That may work for you. But for me, what works are actual things and sayings that I want, things that I want. Now, the Lord is my strength, is my motivation. That's my source of my strength. But I don't want to be the Lord is my shepherd. You know what I mean, right? What I want is to be fit, or I want to be successful, or I want to have the ability to go on vacation every year. So you want to get clear on what you want and stop focusing on the problems, on the things that you're not doing, on the failures of your past, on all the things that you used to do that you can't do. Maybe you're dealing with something physically, some sort of emotional or physical problem. Obviously, you know very well your inabilities or your limitations. But what people that succeed at life and people that get out of the rut, what they do is they focus on what they want. Even if you can't reach that want, even if you can't have that right now, what getting clear on what you want does is it opens the door for you to see what is out there, to see the possibilities. It gets your blood flowing again. Thinking about all the things, all the problems does not get your blood flowing. Have you ever noticed that? In fact, it stalls the process. It depresses you and keeps you stuck in the rut. That's why you're in the rut, because you have been focusing on the negatives. Number 2, focus on the wants and the things that you desire. Number 3 is come up with new adventures every day, every week, every month, every year. Go on a new adventure. I think about this a lot. The human soul, the human heart is designed to live an adventure. Every movie that we watch is an adventure. Every song that we love is a roller coaster of emotions. Every movie starts with in the beginning. I mean, literally, the Bible begins with in the beginning. Every children's story when I was growing up, probably you as well, ends with and they lived happily ever after. And I love the word. You know what the word I love most in that phrase? It wasn't happily. It wasn't ever after. It was they lived. In other words, it was still going. They were going to still do this for the next 100 years. And so you want to be thinking about the adventure of your life. What is the adventure that you want to go on? And I'm really trying to get you out of the mess of negativity and of thinking of all the bad things, all the things that you're not doing. That's where everybody lives. What I call living on Failure Street. Living on GOZO Street is doing these things. It's thinking about your wants. It's evaluating all of your micro actions. It's getting clear on your adventure. And so for me, the adventure is daily. Every time that I wake up, I think, what am I going to do today? Even if I have problems, even if I have things that are hard or difficult, I live my life in pursuit and in continuing my adventure. So I want to ask you a question. What is your adventure? And you might say, well, I don't have an adventure. Well, that's why you go back to that number 2 step, is what are your wants? Because your adventure is predicated upon your wants. First, you have to start with your actions and evaluate that. Number 2 is you have to evaluate what do you actually want. Number 3 is you want to get clear on the adventure that you're on. Do you want to go and move people to Mars? I mean, Elon Musk. Do you want to build the best iPhone ever? Steve Jobs and now Tim Cook. Do you want to create an amazing platform online like Mark Z and Jeff B from Amazon? Maybe that's not your thing. You're not into technology. That's just what's hot now. You may want to build homes. Maybe that is your adventure. For me, I want to have the most awesome, amazing church ever and to reach 1 million people. That's my adventure. There's no judgment there. There is no like, I can't, I won't, look at that other person. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. I can't do that. There's no way. I went through a bankruptcy or unemployment or whatever, things that we tell ourselves. Or I'm too old, or my back hurts, or I'm overweight, or I'm not well connected. I'm too young. I don't have any money. All of the obstacles that are out there, are a waste of time. They are only distracting you from your adventure. So that's number 3. Number 4, let me know in the comments below if this is helping you. Is this helping anybody out there? I hope that this is providing, as we say, value here. Welcome to Richard and to Christian Lopez. Nice to have you guys here on this daily podcast live stream. Number 4, do things together. Do things with other people. Do things with partners. One of the things that I was talking to a friend about recently is that when I grew up, the idea was that I had to do everything on my own, that it was up to me to accomplish all my goals. And I really believed it. And so what happened to us, many of us, if you're a Gen Xer or the sort, is that we became very skilled at not one thing, at many things, but it was just us. We weren't into networking. Networking and partnerships and all these things are pretty new, if you've noticed, definitely to the church movement, but really to society in general. It's all about the Lone Ranger. It used to be about the Lone Ranger and about being a solopreneur, about being the master of what? Of your own destiny, in the church, out in the world, in your business, everywhere. But now, I think because of 2 things. First, technology, but then second, because the problems haven't gotten fixed. We need to now partner. We need to now connect and do things together. So for example, you may want to go and work out. Find 2 or 3 other people online that can help you get to your goals, achieve your goals. I did CrossFit for a season. I couldn't hang with some of the things, the movements physically, but the best part is that I was doing it with other people versus doing it just by myself. That's how I grew up. You might be in the church world or in the music world or in the entrepreneurial world. Partner. This idea that you have to have all the education, the tools, and the abilities is really a thing of the past. It doesn't work. It exhausts you. There are just way too many things to discern and to process and to think about. You have to be able to connect with other people. And obviously your family, your husband, your wife, that's good. But you really have to get outside of that circle. I would say for a lot of us, maybe Latinos or people of color, quote unquote, we get into the trap. And this is what I think is a very important thing for you to hear. We fall into the trap of only working with a very small circle of friends. Just people that we trust, meaning our husband, wife, and maybe a kid or 2. And what happens is that used to be very normal, or that used to be very effective. But now, people want more out of us. People want more from you. And here it is. You want more than that. You want your kids to connect outside of just you. You don't want to be the source, the only source of their knowledge or of their experiences, right? I mean, we can't. And you also want more than just for them to experience the online world and to be on Instagram learning just from there. You and I, we all want to connect. And so, number 4, I'm giving you 7 tips on how to get out of a rut, how to get out of the same old thing. Number 4 is do things with other people. Now, let me also say, you might be disconnecting too much from your family or from your husband. If you're in a rut, let's say in your marriage, you might be going this way. And so you might be at step number 1. So here it is. Let me put it this way. Step number 1 is you have to connect with those near to you. Maybe even let me go further back. Number 1, let's call that number 2. So back 1 step. Number 1 is you first have to realize that you need help, that you need people. Number 2 is you have to then connect with those closest to you. And then number 3, you have to then connect outside of your circle of friends with other people. And that means being vulnerable with them, which is very uncomfortable for a lot of us, including myself. It might mean relying on other people because they may not do things better than you, but it's not just you and your ideas. It means that you trust them. It means that you have to grow in patience. And I'm talking just from my own experience. You have to be more patient with them. You have to obviously train them. Now, you don't always have to train that third level. Now I'm getting into more organizational stuff, but you may have to just hire or be around people that can actually help you. Like I heard the other day, this is kind of maybe something that people may sometimes misunderstand, but the guy was saying is, look for people that you can use. He didn't say abuse or use in a negative way, but his point was is look for people that you can get something from. And hopefully, if they're smart, they're getting something from you. What we call a win-win. But I like just how he spun it. He said, look for people that you can use. Not abuse, but use, meaning you have something that can help me reach my goals so that then I can help you reach your goals. And in the same way, if that person's smart, they're looking at me or looking at someone and saying, hey, that person, I can use them, again, not abuse them, not be horrible, but I can use their connections, their knowledge, their whatever, their money, their skills to get me to where I want to go. And that really is, as I said, a win-win situation. So that's number 4. Number 5 is develop new habits. So I want to just summarize here really quick. These are the 5 steps to get to get out of a rut. These are 5 ways to get out of a rut. If you're in a rut in your marriage, in your volunteerism, in your career, or maybe with your family or with your weight, you're in a rut. You're just doing the same thing. Let me know. Are you in a rut? Let me ask you a question. Are you in a rut? How do you feel about your rut? Call me. Call me at this number. Leave me a comment below. And beyond just yes or no, tell me what area are you in a rut in? And what are you doing, most of all? Why are you in that rut? What's keeping you in the rut? How did you get to this place? So ask me a question, leave me a comment, call me at this number, or text me below, or leave me a comment here on Facebook or Periscope, or wherever you're watching this, on Instagram and YouTube and all the rest. So we're going over 7 steps. Number 1, to summarize a little bit or to go back. Number 1 is evaluate your small systems, your micro systems, your micro steps. Number 2 is don't focus on the problems, focus on your wants. What do you want? Number 3 is go on a new adventure. Number 4 is do things together. Number 5 out of 7 steps is develop new habits. Develop new micro habits. So I am a big believer in making small gains, in having small habits, in having small things that can get you going. I always think about when a car is stuck in the mud. I grew up in a third world country where there was plenty of mud and plenty of this. You have to get something in there to get the wheel moving. If you go too fast, it just spins and you sink even more. Take it to something we all know we've done, building a fire at the beach or at home for a barbecue. After you put all the logs in there in place and you douse it with liquid and you light the flame, before you do all that, what's the step you got to do? Is you got to get those small little pieces of wood, those chips, that little stuff that burns quickly. Now, that's just to get things going, because the real meat of the project is in the big logs, right? But in order for you to get your body moving, your relationship, your marriage, your sex life, your finances going again, the things that you really want, man, what do you really want? You know, and so Ophie here saying fear, that's what's keeping you in a rut. Exactly. So what fear hates are micro habits, micro changes. I'm going to wait for the camera here to reset. But you know what fear, did I say fear hates that? Fear loves that. Fear loves, maybe let me just go back. What fear loves is a lack of micro habits. Fear loves to keep you thinking about the big things. Fear loves to keep you thinking about all of the big problems. And let me even say this, fear loves to keep you thinking about all the big things you need to do. You need to get a doctorate. You need to lose 50 pounds. You need to make $1 million. You need to have your church be a church of 10,000. You have to have your kids all be in high-paying jobs in Silicon Valley or having their own successful businesses by 35. Those are all good, but fear loves to keep you thinking about that and paralyze you. Have you ever heard of analysis paralysis? That's called fear. Fear is nothing more than analysis paralysis. Fear is not a condition. Fear is not something you got to take pills for. Fear is not something, let me just say this, that you got to pray about. I mean, you know what I mean, right? My point is that yes, sometimes you got to take pills. Sometimes you got to pray. Sometimes you got to, I don't know, whatever. You got to take a yoga class. Yes, I've done all those things, by the way, and still do most of those. But here's the practical. I'm a very practical person. Fear equals micro steps. And fear equals analysis paralysis. The reason why you're in fear is because you're not taking steps. And unlike what people say out there, which I like, they say you have to take massive action. And I read this book called 10X. I love those books. But you know what they don't tell you is that for you to achieve that 10X goal, you actually have to take those micro steps. And so what are those micro steps for you? That is number 5. Develop new habits, develop new micro steps. Number 6 is write down your plan. Write down your actual micro habit plan. Get together, if it's, let's say, it depends on the area. If the area that you're trying to fix or get out of a rut is the area of your marriage, or it could be your body, or it could be your business or your nonprofit. Just choose one of those 3 or whatever it is. Just one. And then you can use that template for other things. Use one thing. It could be your mental health, that you're living in some sense of depression and you feel very defeated by the pressures of life and work and ministry. Choose one thing. And now, based on the things that I've given you, your micro habits, your adventure, of the steps you got to take, focusing on what you want, all the things that I've mentioned, come up with a plan. Think through a very specific plan that you're going to then, which is the last step, you're going to evaluate that every week, every month, every year. So this is not a plan that you can't deviate from. You're going to obviously experiment with this plan, but start by writing down what my wife and I did in our relationship it was maybe 10 years ago, and we were really wanting to go to the next level. And we're doing that now again. Now that we have teens, we're doing this again. We're getting very clear on a plan, and we're actually making bookmarks. We make lists on our phones that we text each other. I'm actually thinking at church, for example, to print some of these steps that we need to all be taking so that everyone that comes into our church, or in this case, into our marriage or into our home, can be clear on these steps. Some of them obviously are private, meaning for you, they might be, and for me as well. They're things that it's just for us to work on, but other things might be useful for you or for your family or for your friends or for someone that you know at church or at the soccer field. And so you want to write down these steps, these micro steps. Stay away from writing down just your goals and your big goals. That's a separate list. What I advise to people is have 2 lists. One that is you're very clear on your adventure and what you love and what you want, your big audacious goals. You want to be a millionaire, you want to touch 1 million people, you want to lose 50 pounds, you want to buy a house. Get clear. You want to find your wife by the end of 2017 or maybe 2018. Be clear on your big goals, but then have another list that is just as clear on the micro steps. So when it comes to fitness, a micro step would be to wake up at 5 a.m. That's it. No judgment, no what all you have to do. Guess what? Your brain will tell you what you have to do, meaning go to bed early, maybe have a nice healthy snack before you go out there and work out. You're going to think through do you have the right shoes? Is it cold? Is it dark? Do I have to have keys for my car to get to the gym? Am I going to go for a walk? Is it too dark? Is 5 a.m. even the right time? Blah, blah, blah. But having that goal, it begins to clarify all that you have to do to make that goal possible. And what I advise to people is don't make more than 5 micro changes or micro habits per area. So fitness, really I would say 3 is better, 3 to 5, but I advise 5 max. 3 to me really is the magic bullet. 3 micro steps. So ask yourself, okay, in my marriage, what are the 3 things that I need to do? So right here below, this is the Ask Trig show. Ask me a question regarding how to get out of your rut. You know, ask me what is your question regarding how to get out of a rut? What is your question regarding how do I get out of a financial rut, out of a relationship rut, out of a rut with my career? Maybe you're in a career that you're just doing the same thing over and over again. What is your question below? Ask me, call me at this number, leave me a comment below and tell me what is your question. Ask me a question. Do you have any questions regarding how to get out of a rut? Is there any way that I can help you? And we can talk about this here live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and all the other places. So that is number 6. We're talking about the 7 tips that will help you get out of your rut. Number 7, and the last one, is check in with your plan weekly, daily, annually, every 6 months, twice a year. So the 6th step, number 6, was come up with a plan. But the last one is to evaluate and check in with your plan. And do it with the person that you love. Do it with the person that you're working on this plan with. If you're a single person, check in with your friends and say, hey, here's my plan to get out of debt, to lose 10 pounds, to find the woman of my dreams or the man of my dreams, to get into shape, to start my business, to get out of this job that I can't stand. Whatever your goal is, and now you have your plan, now check in on your plan every day, every week, every month, every 6 months, every year. Because guess what? You're going to be changing that plan. You're going to be adapting that plan. If you can't stay with your plan, don't worry. Come back to it in a month. Come back to it in 3 months. But now you already have that plan. But make sure that this is a very important thing, and that's why it's the last one. Make sure that you check in with that plan. So something Rachelle and I do, we have these bookmarks, we have these goals, we have these ways so that our marriage isn't in a rut. We went through that. Now with teens, we're noticing that those same things want to creep back in, of being kind of just doing the same old thing. So now we're in the middle of, okay, how do we get out of that? So we're getting clear on our goals, we're writing them down, and then every week, really for us, it's every day. Every morning, as I've said before, we wake up at 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., and we go through our morning. We pray, we go through our goals, we get clear on what we want. We get clear on the things that we desire. And she's going to approach it differently than me, because obviously we all have different gifts. She's going to be more practical. I'm going to be more big picture. She's going to be more like, hey, let's talk about money. Let's talk about how things are going. Like the nitty gritty, I'm going to be like, let's make more money. Let's build greater things. That's a wonderful thing. You and your husband, you and your friends, you might be different. You obviously are different. But check in with your goals with somebody else. If you are doing that by yourself, start there. That's fine. You may just have to work your own plan by yourself until you feel like you're kind of getting into the swing of things and you feel like you're making progress and you're evaluating it. You're not beating yourself up. You're not saying, oh, this is horrible. I can't believe that I'm always falling back into these habits. Stop judging yourself. Know that you are capable of doing great things. You are capable of doing amazing things with your life. That's what God says. That's what His Word says. That's what you know about yourself. That's what you want. That's what you desire, because you want to help other people. You want to help your church. You want to write more songs. You want to be a blessing to your kids and to your grandchildren. You want to do great things in life. But if you're in a rut, like many people are, like I know I've been through that, you have to get clear on these 7 steps. So to summarize, if you're maybe tuning in late, number 1, evaluate your small systems. Number 2 is don't focus on the problems, focus on your greatness, on your wants. Number 3 is go on a new adventure. Number 4 is do things together. Number 5 is develop new habits, or what I call micro habits, micro systems. Number 6 is write down your micro plan. And then 7 is check in daily, weekly, monthly, annually, every 6 months on that plan so you can evaluate it. Now, here's something that often happens. Not everyone likes to be a planner. I I'm in the middle. You know, I'm a very right-brained person, but I do have an undergrad in engineering, and I like systems, although I then rebel against them. And that's just the paradox we all live in, right? Maybe you can relate. So what I try to do is to live in the moment, is to think big. Probably my greatest, I don't know, natural state is to be a lion, is to go and hunt, is to go and accomplish and to conquer the world. That's how God made me, and that's a blessing. It's also biblical from what Adam and Eve were told to do, and Noah and all the rest. Abram is to go bless, not just build your own little kingdom, but bless the world. Now, the problem that I face and that I'm growing in every day is you have to get clear on the micro habits, on the micro plans, on the little, on the wood chips on top of the barbecue that make everything taste better. Or if you're starting that fire, those little small wood chips get the thing going. And so you have to know yourself. And this is really maybe a black and white thing. I know that we all think we're everything, but you have to know which way you lean. Are you more of a micro person, meaning small steps, and you struggle with the big ideas? Or are you a big idea and you struggle with the micro steps, with the micro systems, micro habits? I am a big idea person, even though my brain is left brain at times, or many times. I get bored with the micro habits. But everything that I have done well, let me say this. Every dream that I've actually accomplished from the many things that God has given me the joy to do have all 100% been a sum of micro habits. Have been micro habit upon micro habit, upon new, upon adjusting, upon taking action, as they call it, massive action, as some of these marketers call it. I agree with it all completely. You have to have this combination. And really what this guy, Grant Cardone, talks about in his book 10X, he talks about a third thing. He talks about these things all the time. He talks about the big goal. He calls it 10X, 10X your life. Then he talks about having a system that is 10X your systems. And then he talks about don't just compete, but dominate. He says, don't just be average, be obsessive. Or obsessed, not obsessive, obsessed. Don't be average, be obsessed. And I love that. I mean, that's so biblical. That's so of God. God says that I want to give you a future and a hope. I've come to give you life abundantly. He says there are two roads in this world. There is the narrow path that leads to greatness and to eternity and to blessing, or there's the wide path that leads to destruction. If you're in a rut, you're living in the wide path that leads to destruction, to fear, to depression, to giving into the worst of you, to anger, to being fearful, to having that deep sense of shame. And so, but being on the narrow path requires steps. So what are some practical things that you may have to do? Let's say in the area of mental health, which is one that I work with a lot of people on. You have to have a plan. You don't know the plan, you got to go talk to somebody who can give you a plan. You have to try something different. If praying isn't working, guess what? Maybe go see a therapist and maybe take some medication. Maybe it's the opposite. If you're like just downing pills and you're like all crazy and you're suicidal and gaining a bunch of weight, maybe you should talk to Jesus. That's why I talk about evaluate, shock your system. Kind of like just do something crazy. Just something like, oh, wow, where did that come from? And if it wasn't a good thing, or if it didn't work, didn't make you happy, or people complain, then guess what? Adjust it. Learn from your mistakes and tell people, hey, I'm learning. I'm experimenting. Some people aren't experimenters. They are more steady. They're more meat and potatoes, right? And so I want to ask you a question. This is the Ask Trig show here on this beautiful day. Ask me a question in the area of rut. Ask me a question. What questions do you have? I've been talking here now. Hopefully I've been helping some of you with the tips, the 7 tips. But I want you to ask me a question. Here we have a few people tuning in. What are your questions in the area of rut? What are the things that you're dealing with? Call me or leave me a comment right here below on YouTube, on Facebook Live, on Periscope, on Twitter, wherever you're watching me on Instagram. I would love for this to be a way for us to help each other. What are your questions? So I'm kind of rebranding this show to be just me talking, to actually having you ask questions. Kind of like a call-in show, where you can say, hey, here's my comment or here's my question. Here's kind of what I'm dealing with. Here's a question for you. Can you give me your advice? If you think I can, if you don't think I can give you any advice, if you think, whatever, then that's fine, obviously. But if you think that I can give you some advice and perhaps we can help you, I can help you in some way, then ask me a question. This is the Ask Trig show here on Trig Live, on GOZO TV, here on this beautiful day. Talking, as I said, about these 7 steps on how to get out of a rut. So what I'm going to do here, maybe while I wait, if anybody wants to leave me a question, is I'm going to see if my new camera works. So let's check it out. As I said, I have a mobile cam, this one right here. So let's see if it works. I hope it does. Hey, look at that. There it is. So I wanted to show you some of my new toys. This is my mobile cam. It's behind the scenes, and when I have some guests and they maybe sometimes sit in those chairs over there, then we can show this, we can play with this a little bit more, just kind of have fun with this mobile cam. And then, of course, as you know, I have my behind the scenes steady cam that is back there, kind of my GoPro, as I call it, that is more back there behind the scenes, so you can see a little bit of kind of what we do here and how this whole thing is produced. Always it's fun to see, in my opinion, the behind the scenes. And then here my camera 1. So what are your questions? Do you have any questions here? I want to say hello to Richard, to Ofi, to Christian, to Ray, to Sam, to Judy, to Lauti Aguirre. Thank you guys for being here. What is your question? Do you have a question in the area of how to get out of a rut? What is your question? Are you in a rut? What area are you in a rut in? And how did you get in that rut? So ask me a question here. I'm going to just be here for another few minutes live here on Facebook, on Periscope, and on YouTube. And I will be back tomorrow, probably at 8 or 9 a.m. I'm still trying to figure out now with the summer coming and my family here, I need to figure out how to make all this work. It might have to be at midnight where I go live. And I might have more of an audience because everyone's on their phones at midnight, right? I think the stats are there from 11 to 1 a.m. is prime time for most people in terms of consuming content. So I may go live at 11 p.m. tonight. Tune in and check that out. Well, if there aren't any questions, thank you for watching. As I said, make sure that you do ask me a question. Call me at this number. It literally comes into my phone right here, and then we can talk here live. I can help you with your question on the area of rut. I think what I'm going to do over the next few weeks and maybe this month is to begin to do shows, as I said, based on asking Trig or asking a question. So I'm going to probably have less content, less of just me talking, and I really want to have you ask questions. So be thinking of that. If there's a topic that you want to ask about, maybe that would be a place to start today. What are the questions that you have in other areas besides maybe this topic of being in a rut? In the area of the things that you see me talk about, of spiritual power, of personal development, of how to overcome fear. What are the questions that you have? What are the things that you would like to ask me? What are the things that you think I can help you with? So with that said, thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to be going now, and I want to thank you for your support of GOZO TV and Ask Trig, Trig Live here from the GOZO Studios in Long Beach, California. Have a great day. Be sure to share this video with everybody else. Make sure that you message your friends. Let everyone know about this show. By the way, in the next probably month, I'm going to be moving this show to my public page, because obviously this is my personal page and only my friends can watch it, and that's okay. I mean, as I said, we have a very small audience, 1 or 2 people that check in, and then maybe we have 50, 80 views per day, and really, I don't even know how long people are actually watching. But regardless, even if it's just 1 or 2 people that are watching the whole 30, 45, 50 minutes, I really want to grow and help you and provide content that really brings you life. It brings you, as we call it here, GOZO, which means joy. So share this video. Let's grow this audience. I am going to be moving this show to my public page, which is David Trig TV. So right there, I'll put a link here below. Make sure that you go to facebook.com, davidTrig TV, And the problem with those pages, as you know, is that you only know that I'm live if you press on notifications on. If you don't, you won't catch me. It won't come up on your feed because I'm not going to pay $1 million for, my show to be seen on your Facebook wall or on Periscope or wherever. So you're going to have to go to that page, click David Trig TV, like the page, and then when I'm on, you have to then wait till the end and press notifications on so that every time that I'm on, you've seen them, right? You'll see the little caption come on your screen and it says, hey, this guy is live. So that's the only way that you'll be able to see me. And if you find value, if not, no problemos, I'm cool. I'm not trying to force anybody to like my content. If you don't like it, if it's not your thing, that is totally fine. Or if you just kind of want to catch it whenever, that's totally fine. But if you do find value in what I am dropping, as I say, if you're picking up what I'm dropping, especially in these areas, as I said, of personal empowerment, of overcoming your fears, of how to be great and how to have greatness in life and accomplish all your dreams, and as I say, always how to have more GOZO in life, then go to my public page, David Trig TV, like that page, press notifications on so that you can stay connected to this content. I probably will maybe do that transition over the next 4 weeks, so you'll see me here and there, but I want to encourage you to begin to move over there. Now, if nobody moves over there, then I'm going to stay here in this end of things and just keep doing this until we can build a massive audience, build more traction here on the Ask Trig Show. Thanks again, everybody. I am so thankful for your time, your contribution, for your listening. Make sure that you also, by the way, if you want to listen to just the audio of this show, go to, lifeofgozo.com/daily devotions. lifeofgozo.com/daily devotions. And you can click on there, type in your email, and you will get an email with the actual podcast, which is the audio of this show. Thanks again, everybody, and I will see you next time. Adios.